Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. It's our 1000th episode today, which is a hard word to say. 1000th episode today. Thanks to all of you. We made it here. I've just found out, here's Doug Brunt, my husband, is with me, and brought over some champagne. This is all news to me because I came over to do the show and did not know that Doug Brunt was going to be here or that anything was. Do you have something you want to break here, honey, about our 1,000?
Well, it is hard. I was just going to say happy 1,000. It's much easier to say it that way.
Better.
A little champagne to celebrate.
That's awesome. This is the Doug Brunt way, you know, and you listen to his podcast, which is Dedicated with Doug Brunt, where he interviews all the top authors of the world. He mixes a cocktail. Now, he doesn't have to mix this because it's in a champagne bottle. What kind of champagne is that?
This is the Louis Roederer. This is the same maker of Cristal. This is not Cristal.
Oh, that's fine. We'll have that on 2000.
Yeah.
On our 2000th.
Well, we had a little celebration this morning. The kids were all fired up for you.
They did. Oh my gosh, I came down the stairs today. Yay.
Into the mic.
And they had gotten, we'll put it on the board, all these balloons that read 1000 in pink. Huge, huge balloons. I'm going to tell you the truth. I forgot that today was our 1000th episode.
Abby and I did not. We've been planning.
Is that how you remember? Oh, yeah, there's the picture. You can see Thatcher's legs behind that one piece of it. But what a nice thing to wake up to. Doug, cheers.
Cheers, honey. Happy 1,000.
Hey, thank you. And thanks to all of you, my team and our audience, for making this happen. Hold on, I get a drink or it's bad luck.
It's amazing to think back
Ideal.
to more than 4 years ago. A little room, no video, it was audio only.
Now, I didn't know that we were going to do this. Otherwise, I would have shot the team some elements. Maybe we'll drop them in later. But you remember when we launched this podcast, we were in New York and we were in the kids' playroom in a little corner with literally a desk Abby got off of either Wayfair or from IKEA. It was like $100. I think she assembled it.
I mean, if there was no video, but if the camera happened to pan, 4 feet to the right, it would have been a Magna-Tiles tower and blocks and stuffed animals.
Abby was on a beanbag next to the desk. There were 4 of us. That was it. There were just 4 of us. And we hoped it would work out, but who knew? It was
I knew. I had no. You have so many gifts that are suited for this that any one of them is rare to find. But to see them all in one person is amazing. And so I had no doubt you were going to be amazing.
You're very sweet. I would love to take all the credit, but the truth is my team is totally, they're not underrated because no one's underrating them, but they're just not, they don't receive enough affection and love. That's one negative of the way things are set up, right? Like you guys know me, you see me, you hear me, but you need to know the team. Like, nobody ever comes up to them in a restaurant and says, oh my God, I love the show so much. It's really made a difference in my life. And they're fine. They're private people. They probably wouldn't love that anyway. But I do just want to say, like, the work of my producers, my booker, our tech staff is really what makes the show sing. And I can be a total pain in the ass behind the scenes. Like when things go wrong, I'm not an easy taskmaster. I really have a very high bar for quality on the show because I want you guys to experience that. So my team handles that. They handle those moments. And we've all been together for a year. I mean, that's why everybody stays.
Some have been with you way more than a decade. You're all running in the same direction. Everyone on the team is tough and hardworking and believes in what you're doing and believes in the show.
Canadian Debbie and I have been together since 2007, since I started my very first show.
It's amazing.
At Fox News. And then Abby came in 2009. And bit by bit, we've been accumulating staff to which I am extremely loyal. And I think they're loyal to us too, because they believe in the mission. It's like, look, there's so many shows you can go to where it's, it's kind of like hack partisan kisses, right? Like sweet nothings. But I think the audience of the show genuinely wants facts. They want opinion too, but they don't want to be misled.
What was the feedback you got from that one viewer? It was
relentlessly factual.
Relentlessly factual.
I love it. It's like sort of my unofficial tagline now on the show.
Great.
But anyway, but it also requires a supportive family that doesn't mind when at the last second you got to jet off someplace and cover something big. And, you got to know how many triple drops you've done with the kids because, I'm off someplace.
Well, you paid it back this week with a triple drop taking care of the kids as I was out of here. But you've provided so many opportunities for the kids too. They're getting a richness of education through experience of getting out and seeing so much in this political season, which has been amazing.
It's been so cool. I have to say, one great thing that's come from it. We don't push our politics on our kids. We talk about politics all the time in our house, but we've told them many times they can be whatever they want to be. You know, we certainly hope they don't turn into far left libs, but we'll love them if they do. And our eldest is just kicking around they just formed a conservative or a Republican club at his high school. So it's like, it's good he's had exposure to all these events. He's coming around naturally to what we think are sane political views, at least in 2025 America.
Yeah. Now, listen, I'm just a short timer here this morning. Or this afternoon. I'm here for the champagne, but we also, if the crew is ready for it, I know there's a video that some friends of the show would like to say congratulations as well.
Who's in charge here?
Megyn Kelly, 1,000 episodes. Well, I would say that I didn't think that you'd get this far, but of course I knew that you would. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to your audience, which gets to hear you every day. It is awesome. It's amazing to see the path that you've carved out for yourself. Truly, congratulations.
Megyn, congratulations on 1,000 shows. 1,000 shows. That is amazing. So much hard work went into it. It's not surprising at all because you're incredible at what you do. I hope you know, though, that all of that hard work is an incredible success and also an incredible success for the media, because now what you've done is shown there's incredible, massive demand and a huge appetite for journalists who prioritize the truth and honesty above everything else.
Congratulations. Amazing.
Oh, Marsha
and here's to 10,000 more.
Okay, 1,000 shows. That's so impressive. Almost as impressive as the woman herself, the legend, none other than Megyn. Happy 1,000.
Congratulations on your 1,000th episode. It seems like only yesterday you had 999 episodes. I am looking forward to 1,000 more, 10,000 more, because you don't age, so you'll probably be going until you have 1,000,000 episodes.
Congratulations on show 1,000, Megyn, and thank you for having this Democrat on your show. It's part of the secret of your success is that you're not afraid to debate, you embrace it, and you're so darn good at it. I mean, at this point, after 1,000 shows, you must be so tired of winning. Well, here's the next 1,000.
To my friend, the great Megyn Kelly, who I knew as Megyn Kendall, then Megyn Kelly, and Kelly's Court, and all of this stuff. 1,000 episodes, wow. And you accomplished all of that at the age of 30. Congratulations, Megyn Kelly. We're all so proud of you.
It's amazing.
I didn't put a little tinkle of orange juice in there, but, you know, here's to you.
Good job, Laura.
Cheers.
1,000
Cheers,
shows.
Oh, and Mark, of course, they're back to back.
So happy for you. You know, The Simpsons hasn't even gotten there yet. And Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, only $8.95.
I think he's just making
What
stuff
I'm
up.
saying
That doesn't sound right.
is you're
go
better
with
than
it.
Fred Rogers.
Hey, Megyn is the first ever guest on the Megyn Kelly Show and therefore the unofficial godfather of the program. I want to congratulate you and your team, not only on 1,000 episodes, but also on the great success that your show has had, which is very well deserved.
Megyn Marie Kelly. 1,000 episodes. Unbelievable. Who'd have guessed that an attractive, smart, incredibly congenial, extremely nice person could make it this far?
And thank you so much, because we wouldn't be here without you. You've not only used your own platform for your successes, you've raised all other boats on the conservative side. You're the best.
And to return the favor, I want it noted that I was the one that nominated you for our Man of the Year award.
Yeah.
You're
right
the best,
on.
Megyn. You set an example for all of us, and we just could not thank you enough, and congratulations.
Oh, man, that's incredible. Oh, so many of our favorites.
There is one more thing. I'll let you see it before the audience. There's one more thing from your brilliant EP, Steve Krakauer.
Oh,
a painting that captures a recent moment in history.
No, he didn't.
Let me put this out here.
Can you guys see this?
See?
For the listening audience, it is a painting of the Lauren Sanchez boobs at the inauguration swearing in, and Mark Zuckerberg.
All eyes are cast downward like a dead president.
By Travis Chapman. Travis, thank you. Steve, how did you know? I mean, this is going to go in our bedroom, and we're going to think about Lauren. No, we're not. No, we aren't. It's like one day we get Lauren Sanchez, and the next we get Beyonce, whatever, Censore, Bianca, Kanye's wife. And it's kind of like two sides of the same coin in a way. Look at me. Look at my boobs. This ought to be fun.
So you can see where some of the sense of humor is behind the scenes in the show with that.
Yeah, we're all raunchy news people at heart. I mean, it's not a surprise. But I do want to pick up on something somebody was saying there, because it was Emily Jashinsky. Like, our move over into the podcasting lane did wind up being, I think, consequential. So did Tucker's, hugely. You know, you and I have talked about this privately, but having, well-known names from the traditional media come over to digital media. It's not like we were first by far. I mean, Ben, Joe Rogan, obviously, so many others were blazing a path, Dave Rubin. But we were one of the earliest, like, big names from media, from the traditional media to come over. And I think it really did, that 1-2 punch of yours truly and Tucker within a relatively short window, send a message to the whole industry that there was a new game in town, that people who are free thinking and free speakers were just done being constrained.
Yeah.
We weren't going to go back to that other industry and play by those same rules anymore. And that, I really think, is why his show and this show have done well, because people know it. They know when they're being spoon-fed AstroTurf messaging or corporate approved messaging, or where you just have your wings clipped on every segment.
Well, you guys were top of the mountain. You were the most talented, most energetic broadcasters out there, and you got to come over here and do it exactly the way you want to do it, which made it even better. And once people got a chance to sample it, it's just taken off.
Well, it's a blessing. We're very lucky to be able to do it. And as I always say, not only am I doing this, I'm doing it in my stretchy pants and my Uggs. That's winning. Love you, babe.
Thank you, honey. Love you.
Thanks for coming over.
Congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Doug's got to get out of the studio because it's 76
It's 100 degrees in here.
It's so hot. Not just because I have this top on today. I always keep it this hot with Abby's in the tank top usually.
You want a champagne topper?
I'm good. Thank you. She's not in today because she has a sick baby. But in any event, wow. All right. So 12 minutes on the 1000th anniversary, and I could not have done any one of them without all of you. God bless you, and thank you for supporting our efforts to bring you the news in a way that we hope you find informational but entertaining, and most of all, on most days, pretty fun, like an enjoyable way to spend an hour and a half plus. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. The human body is incredible, capable of repair and growth that amazes scientists, even in 2025. But as the years pass, natural healing and building processes, they slow down a bit. While this is normal, there is a way to support your body. A collagen supplement from Ancient Nutrition can help you look and feel your best. I have to tell you, a lot of people who I really trust love collagen supplements. For centuries, people have searched for a mythical fountain of youth. Spoiler alert, it doesn't really exist. However, collagen is a proven way to promote youthful health and appearance. And this is why I want to tell you about Ancient Nutrition's Multi-Collagen Advanced Lean. Ancient Nutrition combines ancient wisdom and modern science to create high-quality supplements. It is delicious and easy to incorporate into daily routines. You can mix it right into your coffee, matcha, your smoothies. Right now, enjoy 25% off your first order at ancientnutrition.com/Megyn. That's ancientnutrition.com/Megyn for 25% off. Support your bod and feel your best with Ancient Nutrition. Okay, now let's get to the news, speaking of that. Because America may be buying Gaza, as it turns out. Trump sees a real estate opportunity, and it could have some significant consequences. Joining me today, speaking of great friends of the show, are our pals from the Fifth Column. They, along with all those other guests who did that lovely video, are the ones who make the MK Show, our great, great guests, who, by the way, get mentioned to me all the time. When people say, I love the show, they'll say, we love your guests. And that's a credit to guys like this, making their 30th appearance on the show since our launch.
Is that true?
4.5 years ago. Can you believe that, guys?
Nice.
It's Kmele Foster, Michael Moynihan, and Matt Welch of WeTheFifth.com.
Yeah.
So can you believe that 30 times?
I know. I texted Kmele yesterday and said, wait, were we on Megyn's show during Trump 1.0? And he said no, which apparently
it was
that's
a
wrong.
very short window.
Short window.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I launched this the end of September, I think, of 2020. For sure, I launched it September 2020. Okay. So, we had three months of the window.
Mm-hmm. Well,
just
to reiterate what your other guest had said, like the category of media that you are in and thriving in is it's terrific to watch, and a lot of it is due to two things that I think people consistently underrate: is having a sense of humor and working your damn ass off, as does everybody who works for you, and that's work ethic and fun. Turns out people respond to it. So
thank you,
congratulations.
Matt.
It's very well
I totally agree with that. I do think that the difference in any job and becoming successful or not tends to be how hard you're willing to work. Go ahead.
I just want to add one thing to that, is that I'm really jealous of Doug Brunt for like a number of reasons. And this is the first time I've seen him. I've listened to his podcast. He's a great host. And I saw him. And then I was like, I'm not gay. I've never been gay. I'm like, that guy's pretty amazing. Yeah. And he's handsome and smart, and he's charming,
fit too,
and he's in good shape, and he's so nice to you. And then I realized I'm really bad at being a partner and a boyfriend, and so I want Doug to know that he inspired me today to try to be slightly better as a person, and it's absolutely not going to work.
Doug is pretty dreamy.
1,000 shows,
very
but
lucky.
thank you, Doug. Yes,
I did.
Very lucky, Megyn.
I feel the need now to object on behalf of his younger brother, Ken Brunt, who's about had it with all the Doug compliments. He listens often, and he's like, could you tell people to dial it back a little?
Ken and I have been talking about getting together and poisoning Doug, but I didn't want to talk about that on the show. But he's making us look bad.
It's some sort of toxin that blends into a rye Manhattan. It's going to go down very easily without question.
Oh, man.
Well, anyways, I do sincerely, guys like you, guys like the cast of Ruthless, the EJs, that's what makes me want to get up in the morning and come to this desk, right? I love our conversations. I adore hearing your viewpoints. I don't think I could ever do a show where it's just me. Occasionally I'll do one where it's just I'm going to rail on something. That's fine if I feel passionately about it. But I love hearing what you guys have to say. I love when we disagree. I love when you three disagree. All of that is the special sauce, I think, that goes into good shows. And it's not like we never have a miss. Occasionally we'll have a guest who is like, all right, that's a one and done. But you guys, 30 times speaks for itself.
Yeah.
They're the gold standard.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I suspect we'll probably be disagreeing today. So,
God.
I sense it.
I don't even know how to feel about this. I'm like, what? We're buying Gaza? Or are we buying it? Or we're just taking it over? And I was saying to my team, I'm like, it feels a little like, your best friend has pancreatic cancer and you feel really sorry for her, but instead of just feeling sorry for her, you somehow transfer the pancreas to your body. Now you've got pancreatic. I'm not sure I wanted to help quite this much. I'm not sure I wanted to help quite this much, but I am open-minded to what Trump is saying. Let's play some sound just so people can hear from the president himself. Hold on. SOT list dropped off by Doug Brunt, the Brunt Bureau. Here it is in SOT 2 where he's proposing this. By the way, Netanyahu's here. He had a meeting with Trump and they had a joint presser last night, and Trump surprised everybody. Even his senior staff reportedly did not know this was coming. I'm sure a couple of them did, but most of them did not. And there'd been no major announcement coming tonight. So everybody was like, what did he just say? And he did say something very significant, and he said it repeatedly. It wasn't a mistake. So here's SOT 2.
The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, will own it, and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace.
So the proposal appears to be that we are going to, all right, and it hasn't been sketched out exactly, but it appears to be that we would not, though he gave an answer that was ambiguous, send troops necessarily over there, but that we are going to take over Gaza, at least temporarily. We're going to level what's left of the buildings. We're going to excavate the ground to get rid of the some 30,000 bombs that they say are still there planted and awaiting, explosion or on reserve for Hamas. That during that time, we are going to strongly encourage Egypt and Jordan to take the Palestinians that they have steadfastly resisted for years, and especially since 10/7. They don't want them. They're like, this is the troublemaking group. We don't want them moving into Egypt or Jordan. But he says they will take them. Trump actually said, they say they won't take them. I say they will. And that we're then going to develop Gaza into what Trump says will be like a new Riviera. And we're not going to pay for it. We're going to somehow get the Saudis, UAE, and I don't know who's the third to pay for it. And that then there's going to be beautiful buildings where everyone can go and work and visit like a tourist. But who's in charge at that point? Like, he doesn't seem to be saying we'll own it forever, though he might be. Again, it's all very unclear today with me because it was unclear last night with Trump. But so far, I'm hearing very positive reaction from Alan Dershowitz, who's been a major advocate for Israel since the start. Ben Shapiro tweeted something out very, very positive. He tweeted out in part, undoubtedly the most extraordinary and unexpected element of Trump's first term was his remaking of the Middle East and with the Abraham Accords. He achieved that Nobel Prize-worthy accomplishment by thinking outside the box, recognizing hard realities and ignoring the conventional idiocy of the blob. Here he goes again with Gaza. This vision is absolutely transformative. And then you have Rand Paul with the following. The pursuit for peace should be that of the Israelis and the Palestinians. I thought we voted for America first. We have no business contemplating yet another occupation to doom our treasure and spill our soldiers' blood. And the Palestinians don't seem too keen on it, 18 hours in either. So what do you guys make of it?
I mean,
the argument against it is pretty easy and obvious, which is that Americans didn't sign up for another nation building project. When you've got Lindsey Graham saying, "I don't know about this one, man," then you know that you've really gotten into some special kind of place. Fair point. You can't own a piece of this land. You can't run a whole chunk of it and guarantee the removal of debris without deploying American forces. That's just not going to happen. So if that was to take place, we would have our soldiers there, which means our soldiers will die on Gazan soil. I don't see how you avoid that happening. No one has been able to avoid that happening with whoever's in charge of Gaza in its history. So it's pretty easy to argue against that on the Rand Paul terms. The argument for what Trump did is that he's not going to actually do it. That what he's trying to do is kind of a nod to what Ben Shapiro was saying, which is, and Trump reiterated this yesterday, and he's been saying this since he's been president and president-elect, which is that October 6th of 2023 was intolerable. We need to think differently about that going forward. And the October 6th mindset is that Palestinians will run Gaza. If that means Hamas is in charge, then I guess that means Hamas is in charge, and the people who live in Palestine in the Gaza Strip will sort of periodically wage constant war against Israel. That's unacceptable going forward, as is the notion that the neighboring countries are not going to lend a hand in helping out what comes next. The sad thing is that neither Israel nor the United States nor people in Gaza and the surrounding area have come up with any plan about what to do with Gaza after this war. The ceasefire deal is not a plan of what to do with Gaza after the war. So what Trump is doing, the defense of what Trump is doing, is that he's sort of moving the Overton window. He's saying, hey, look, maybe you should take some refugees. Maybe there is a future that we can imagine in which this marvelous piece of real estate on the Eastern Mediterranean is actually used to build positive things and not just terror tunnels. That's to the good. The problem with it is that you are using an implied threat and what happens when you have to go through with it. And it'll be very interesting to see what Saudi Arabia in particular says. I think they woke up at 4:00 in the morning Saudi time to say, no,
right,
because Trump was insisting that Saudi Arabia is going to be basically cool with something like this, and
here's
as part of their normalization.
Here's what we have so far in terms of world leader reaction, at least from that region of the world. Hamas, according to the New York Times, immediately rejected mass relocation. A senior Hamas official said that this is a recipe for creating chaos and tension. What's needed is the end of the occupation and the aggression against our people. Then Egypt, their foreign minister spoke to the prime minister and the foreign minister of the Palestinian Authority about removing debris from Gaza, expediting humanitarian aid, and starting recovery programs without the Palestinians leaving. So not going there. Jordan's King Abdullah II has also strongly opposed the plan, saying that peace can only be achieved through a two-state solution, not through forced relocation. Okay, there's not going to be a two-state solution, so fine. We can continue pretending that that's on the table, but it's not. Then there's Turkey. It's even wrong to open that discussion, to discussion, says the foreign minister. Turkey's against any initiative that would exclude the Gazan people. And the Saudis, their foreign minister said in a, quote, sharply worded reaction that it is backing an independent Palestinian state, and that backing is a firm, steadfast, and unwavering position. So, I mean, no one's talking about a Palestinian state in this Trump plan. It's like they're going to disperse to Egypt and Jordan, the ones who have not wanted them all along. I mean, I got to be honest though, you guys, how are they living in Palestine right now? How's anybody living in Gaza? It's rubble
through enormous amounts of international aid. I mean, the thing about this is it is crazy in about 1,000 ways. I mean, Donald Trump exerting pressure on the Canadians and the Mexicans to say, this is what we do. You need us, so therefore we'll turn the screws and you'll do what we want. The same thing cannot apply to the Middle East. I mean, the Abraham Accords, which Ben Shapiro said was a great achievement, I agree with him, but those fall apart the second the Trump administration says we are going to, against international law, by the way, and against the Geneva Conventions, which prohibits, large-scale forcibly moving populations out of their territory. I mean, it's a crazy thing to do. But, Matt says, it would require American troops in some way. There's not going to be any UN troops. No one is going to agree to this. But if the American troops have to be there, they will probably be killed on the ground, some of them anyway. That's true. It's also true that they'll be killed other places. I mean, remember that Osama bin Laden's big complaint was American soldiers in Saudi Arabia, where he was from, the Holy Land there. They don't tell me that they think the Dome of the Rock and Palestinian territories are any less holy. They're always mentioned. Also, keep in mind that you have a restive population in the West Bank, which is right there, cheek to jowl with Israel, and has an enormous amount of support for Hamas these days. Palestinian Authority run, but the PA has been terrible. They're corrupt. There's a million things to say about them. The Egyptians and the Jordanians, look, I mean, you can't negotiate in this sense is that the Egyptians have a peace deal that was made with Israel in the 1970s. I mean, that's been a very, very important thing for some semblance of stability in the Middle East. The Jordanians, I mean, you think about the terrorists that killed Israeli athletes at the 1972 Olympics. The name of that terror group was Black September. Black September was an event in Jordan in which the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan attacked the Palestinian refugees. They were fighting. The Palestinians attacked them, and the Jordanians attacked back. I mean, the Egyptians had a problem with Muslim Brotherhood getting into government. That's why they don't allow Palestinians to come through that southern border at Rafah Gate. Nobody is going to agree with this.
They don't want them.
They don't want them. You can't make them. Well, we're going to make a deal. No. They have, 40, 50 years of doing this and very particular reasons of their own stability. The Jordanian monarchy, for instance, or the Egyptian government for some deal with Donald Trump. They're going to potentially destabilize their own governments. Not in a million years. And also, you can't kick people off their land. I agree with the premise.
And so far as Gaza still exists, they've already been kicked out. It's like Israel did that. Gaza is destroyed. Like that is done. I don't think now if we go beyond Gaza, if we're talking about all of Palestine and the West Bank, you got to kick people out. But Gaza's done. It's like unless somebody goes in there and rebuilds it, there is no long-term sustaining of that area for these Palestinians. So they're going to have to go somewhere or do something. And he's basically saying, we're not going to fund the rebuilding while you're sitting there. Like, get out, we'll level it, we'll clean it up, but for a price. Like, we're going to need to rebuild it, and we may have some stake in it on an ongoing basis. Again, that piece of it is unclear. But
I mean, is that America's responsibility?
To say that he's moving them out is not true, because I think really Israel did that.
I mean, they're all still within the kind of contiguous borders of Gaza because, as we have both pointed out, nobody is willing to take them. I mean, when we were rebuilding Berlin and Tokyo, the Germans and the Japanese stayed put. I mean, obviously, I am somebody who is incredibly...
After World War I, we did get rid of a bunch of Germans from the, what is it, Sudetenland? They got kicked out.
Yeah, which kind of created World War II. So it's a problem because the Sudeten Germans, when they were pushed out, created the crisis in 1938 where the Germans took back part of Czechoslovakia and then all of Czechoslovakia. So, I mean, you create these long-term problems when you're moving populations against their will. But, I mean, the thing is that I do agree with someone like Ben Shapiro. I mean, I've always been criticized for being hawkish on this issue. Is that October 6th and October 9th are no longer sustainable in what you can tell from what Donald Trump said. And keeping in mind, he's done so much stuff over the years off the cuff that has then become policy. Note in this that he was reading off notes.
He was reading, yep.
This was actually something that was not just, he just had an idea. This was written down, and he was presenting this, and this was a plan, with malice aforethought that some people would think, right? But I mean, he has an idea here, and the one idea that you can say that everyone understands, but this is the two-state solution is finally fully dead, and that is coming from the president of the United States.
Although we don't know how long.
I think it's interesting. It's bold. You have to give him points for a bold plan that both Ben and Alan Dershowitz, like two of our most prominent Jewish Americans, said, I never even envisioned something like this. And Alan Dershowitz is going off. Like for 40 plus years, 50 years, I've been at the forefront of dealing with every single Israeli leader and American president in trying to forge a better situation for Israel. Never even crossed my mind that this would be a potential possibility, and sounded excited about the fact that this very outside the box thinker, President Trump, threw something new into the mix that everybody in the world was like, huh? What? And I think it needs some time to be digested, to be kicked around, to be criticized. That's all fair too, but not to be knee-jerk dismissed, because the one thing we know, Kmele, is that nothing has worked so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you said when you were laying this out, so many of the details are amorphous. We don't actually know what any of this means. He's insisting that we're going to take it over, we'll own it, and folks won't be able to come back, but we're also not going to have our military there. I don't know how those two things work together. This is kind of par for the course with Trump in some respects, in that this is his truthful hyperbole strategy being deployed again, just like Greenland, just like Mexico, the Mexico-Canada tariffs very recently, where you say something bold and audacious, you promise some horrible consequence if folks don't comply with what you want. But as with the Mexico-Canada situation, he never actually laid out any sort of success criteria. So what he ended up settling for, so far as I can tell, doesn't actually seem to be particularly consequential. I don't think you can use the same strategy.
He took what he got as in exchange for a 30-day extension on his tariffs. So I think Trump would say,
we'll see
the
what
deal's not done. Like, those are the
Yeah.
first initial concessions, and within 30 days, we should be negotiating on all the things I really want. So we'll see.
But there's probably not an easy out like that in this circumstance. Now that you've laid this out and made all of these kind of grand proclamations and insisted that folks are going to do things that they've said they would not do for a very, very, very long time, you kind of have to put up at some point. And I'm just not sure there's any there. Moynihan, you mentioned that he was reading from a piece of paper, and I noticed that too. But it's not clear when that piece of paper was authored. It could have been
thank
moments
God,
before.
right? I'm glad to see Trump reading on something as big as this.
Sure.
Yes,
that's good.
Jared Kushner has been talking about this for many, many months.
Correct.
The variations of this, and Trump, in his extended remarks, if you go and read the transcript, he's talking at some level of detail and talking about having thought about this for a while. My prediction of this, and it's always a fool's game, but I'll nonetheless wade in just to try to make us have a sense of maybe where this is going. And also, there's some State Department spokesman comments to this effect, that this is an attempt to pressure Saudi Arabia, Gulf states, Egypt and Jordan, to the extent that they can participate, into being an active participant in a non-Hamas governing structure in Gaza. Someone needs to make sure that Gaza is governed and secured in such a way to make real reconstruction possible, a real building, a positive building.
So what you're saying, Matt Welch,
society.
what you're saying is it's like when we're at the dinner table and I can't get my 3 kids to agree on who's going to do the cleanup. And I, in exasperation, just say, fine, I'll do it. And my kids, being sweet kids, know that I worked all day and that then if I cooked a meal, I'm especially bitter. And
so are they because they had to eat it.
No, exactly right.
Yeah, well, we got
and
it.
they know it's not going to get better if I then have to do the cleanup of the meal. And then at that point, they're all like, all right, we'll do it. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. The 3 of us will do it together or one of us will do it. What you're saying is that Trump is the me in that situation, being like, fine, nobody else is going to solve it. I'll solve it, hoping that the 3 other people at the table stand up to say, you know what? We'll handle it.
Well, your kids are sweet, though. That's the thing. I'm not sure we're dealing with sweet kids here. And I'm
like
also
the
not
Saudis.
sure. And I don't know what Trump's leverage, and maybe Moynihan has some insight that currently I lack, but I don't know what Trump's whip hand is to sort of make these people do what he wants. America already gives a ton of foreign aid to Egypt and Jordan and Israel, of course, and military sales to Saudi Arabia. We don't give direct aid as far as I'm aware. But what is the whip hand to sort of make people do this? Is it just like, oh no, I might act crazy?
Or is it an ownership interest in the Gaza Riviera? Because that Trump is saying we're not going to pay for this. That is what he said.
Gaza, Megyn. We should call it by its proper name.
Gaziera, the Gaziera. I think I'd be a little scared to stay in a hotel in the Gaziera.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it'll be different in 30 years.
Anytime soon.
Let me give you a little Trump sound because he filled in a few of these blanks. I mean, again, we're still unclear and he was still ambiguous, but you should hear directly from the president on, first, the question of U.S. troops, 5.
Mr. President, given what you've said about Gaza, did the U.S. send troops to help secure the security vacuum?
As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of.
Then Politico, following up, spoke to an unnamed Trump official who they report did not accept the premise that Trump's plan would require American troops in Gaza. Expect plenty more pushback on that assumption from the White House today. This official argued that it's in the interest of other Arab players like Saudi Arabia to find a solution to the conflict, and that Trump throwing his ideas out there might inspire others to counter. As the man himself says, we'll see. So that's kind of my dinner party, possibility, the dinner party.
There's one negative possibility here is that, if you're negotiating in that way, well, we're going to go in there, we're going to do it, and you're not going to like that. So therefore, you're going to go in and clean it up yourself. We're going to force you into doing the thing that you're reluctant to do. The flip side of that is also true. I mean, keep in mind that there are people in all of these governments across the Arab world who would love to see America do that. I mean, look what happened in the Iraq War. They absolutely, do you think any of these governments give a shit about the Palestinians? If they gave a shit about the Palestinians, they would be allowing enormous amounts of refugees. They care about destroying Israel. And they've been sacrificing the Palestinians on that behalf for a very, very long time. If you can bring American troops in there and actually cause even more chaos for the great Satan, the Iranians would love that. I mean, it's kind of what America does by funding the Ukrainians. It's like keep Putin bogged down and kill a bunch of his soldiers in Ukraine, right? In the borderlands of Ukraine. Like, we don't have to fight that war. They'll do it for us.
Okay, fair. I take all of that
makes me think they could be doing that. Yeah.
I take it all. But what if, let's just go with the what if for a moment here. Trump is a builder. Like, this actually is an area, like cleaning out a wasteland, a construction site, removing destroyed buildings and putting up enormous, lovely new ones. That is something he actually has some expertise in. And what if he actually could with money from the Saudis and the Jordanians and the Egyptians and the UAE and maybe some American money, build what he says could be there. Here is SOT 3.
We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
Stand by. Let me play one follow-up where he was asked if are we going there permanently? Like we're never leaving Gaza now? And here's what he said, SOT 6.
You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. This was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction.
Sorry, one more, you guys. Keep those in mind, right? So there's Trump saying could be like the Riviera of the Middle East, then saying I do see a long-term ownership for the United States. And then here is the Jared Kushner sound in part that you guys just referred to, his son-in-law.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
How about that? That was exactly 12 months ago.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot. I mean, I don't even know where to begin here. I see a lot. I mean, first of all, we're seeing neocon dawn, which I was not expecting at this point. Neocon dawn is making a lot of people, I'm sure Tucker Carlson is having heart palpitations up in the woods of Maine right now.
I'm very interested to see how he reacts. I agree with you. I'm very interested to see how Tucker reacts.
I'm like, is he tweeting about this? I guess he's going to have a show and talk about it. But
he doesn't usually tweet. He'll do something on the show. But yeah, go ahead.
But I'm interested to see how he deals on the show because, I mean, keep in mind that Lebanon was long considered the Middle Eastern Riviera, and Beirut was the Paris of the Middle East and completely destroyed by, sectarian fighting in this kind of sense that, Donald Trump made a big deal. And I kind of defended him in one way. He said in 2002, when asked by Howard Stern if he supported the Iraq war, he said something like, I guess so. And then he turned on it pretty quickly. And he said it was like the biggest foreign policy mistake in American history. I don't know how he thinks, if we're going to own this property and stay there for a long time, that this is going to be peaceful. This is going to be without the Iranians, the jihadists that blew up American troops in Iraq were almost exclusively funded by the Iranians, IEDs blowing people's legs off. I mean, you don't think something like that would happen again? I do. For the purpose of a couple of hotels, yeah, if you had the choice, I think you would go to the south of France and not to Gaza, where people who have been displaced are probably going to want to wage war to get that piece of territory back.
Well, here's the problem. Like, in part, we're treating Hamas like they're rational humans who we can just strike a deal with. And they're absolutely barbaric. I mean, what they did to Israel on 10/7 is animalistic in its viciousness, and they don't value human life. Their charter makes that clear. The way they behave makes that clear. All those UN videos of, or it wasn't the UN, I can't remember who put it together, but of the Palestinian children talking about how they can't wait to die for the cause, just so they can martyr themselves and kill Israelis. And even with the Hamas fighters calling their parents for praise in the middle of murdering. I murdered 4 Jews. Yeah, kids, parents. That's not someone we can negotiate with. That's not someone who's going to be lured into peacefulness by a big, beautiful building that he might be able to swing by the spa on Sunday at, Kmele. I'm open-minded. I have no solutions for the Middle East, none. So I'm as open-minded to this one as another. But I do think this fundamental truth about the people who are in Hamas must be dealt with in making our decision.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be helpful, but I mean, to the extent, Trump has qualities that I'm eager to embrace. Like, one of those is being able to essentially utter uncomfortable truths that like no one else is willing to look at, and acknowledging the fact that this is a terrible situation. The status quo is completely unacceptable. We can't return to that. We have to do something bold and audacious here. Let me just throw something out there. To do that in the kind of most responsible, delicate way possible, while being sufficiently disruptive, I think is a very good thing. But in terms of achieving this kind of Riviera of the Middle East thing, like the first and second order problems before you get to the end state where he could actually do the thing that he has done a bunch, build things, they're just so hard. The security envelope that would be required to actually allow contractors to come in and do the construction, the effort to actually try to move people around, to perhaps force people out, it would just be extraordinary. And then think, Camille, think once,
let's say he gets
enormous.
It built. Let's say he makes Gaza as populated and with the skyscraper hotels as Lower Manhattan. Who would stay in one of those? Like, all it takes is
sustaining
one
it over time.
Hamas fighter to go in there with the bomb-laden backpack. And that's what's going to start happening, right? It's like, you cannot trust these people. Like, they are not a peaceful people. They do not desire to live in peace. What they really want to do is kill Jews. That's really what they get off on. And Americans too. I think they'd be thrilled to kill Americans as Jewish supporters, Israeli supporters, if we stay in Gaza.
And not just there. Not just there.
Right. We don't want their bus attacks coming over here. But I also do feel like, well, I don't have a better solution. And I do think, knowing Trump's constant negotiation tactics, there's a high likelihood this could just be trying to spur someone else into action. Like, I take your point that maybe these Middle East folks want to see the United States do this because it's to our peril. But maybe, Trump, I think we can all agree, knows more than we know about what's actually happening behind the scenes in these countries. And I'll bet you he does have a game plan.
There's one thing that we're presuming, and that Trump is presuming from the lectern there, is that Hamas is a spent force. We saw during those hostage handovers that there is a significant number of young fighting age men that have survived. And if you look at all the assessments, Hamas is not a spent force. This is a ceasefire. This is not a victory. There's not a victory parade that everybody in Hamas has done. All their munitions have been captured, et cetera. So if you go in there to do anything, you are immediately fighting an insurgency. I mean, that's like this. People are not going away. They're not going to walk away. These are people, as you say, Megyn, and the people I think you were thinking of is the organization Memory, is memory.org that collects all the videos. And, how many times can you see a video saying, we love death more than you love life? These are people not like, oh, it's dangerous, I'm going to get out of here. No, we're going to dig in, and we have troops left, and we have fighters left, and you try to come in here and build a hotel, we're going to make it a bloody mess for you. And that is assured. You can bet the bank on that one.
One thing that I think
it's worth... Can we talk about the thread that we were just touching on? Because, I raised this with Marco Rubio last week, saying it's a really tough time to be Secretary of State as a Republican, given what's happening within the Republican Party, within MAGA, on the issue of foreign policy. It's not, we use Tucker because he's like one of, if not the leader of this strain within MAGA, but there are millions of Americans who feel like Tucker does, which is, we should be truly putting America first and withdrawing from these international conflicts, and that this is Israel's problem, not ours. Why should we be spending all this money? And forgive me for trying to paraphrase Tucker's more complex view, but this is a thumbnail sketch, that this is Israel's problem, that they should be prioritizing it, and that the Middle East should be working on this. But we have our own problems. It's the number one cause of death now, the fentanyl poisoning of younger Americans. Like, why isn't the money that we're about to spend, or the efforts that we're about to spend, going toward us? But, as you know, within the Republican Party, there's a much more neocon-y strain, and even just maybe not even neocon, but more bellicose, more hawkish, that is very pro-Israel. And Marco Rubio, I would say, I don't think he was totally neocon-y. I think he's more of like a hawk.
Sympathetic, yeah.
Okay, neocon-y, and then kind of maybe downgraded to hawky. And then kind of flirting with the more isolationist, So I feel like Trump is telling us that he's more with the Marco Rubios of the world, right? Like, this is pretty aggressive. He bombed ISIS in Somalia. He says, I think we might be getting ready to take Greenland by force. Maybe Panama too. I'm laughing because I don't actually think he'll do that, but he's not ruled it out. So I think we're kind of seeing the boss message on where he actually stands on these issues.
I think that he is going to pursue a Trump corollary of the Monroe Doctrine, and he's already doing it. America is going to be very assertive in its near abroad and do things that were not contemplated before. I think in the Middle East, he wants to be a peacemaker at heart.
Oh, wait. No, wait. And the Monroe Doctrine is too big a concept to introduce with just 4 seconds before the break. So put a pin in that, pick it up on the opposite side of this quick word. Thank you, guys. They stay with us the whole show. There is a real and growing threat to your home and your equity, and it's called title fraud. Here's how it works. Criminals can forge a single document, file it with the recorder, and just like that, your home and its title is stolen. They own the title to your home. They take out loans against your property, draining your equity, and you would not even know it until it's too late. And here's the really scary part. Credit monitoring will not protect you from this. But I want to tell you about Home Title Lock. To protect your home and equity. Their exclusive triple lock protection gives you 24/7 monitoring of your home's title, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and a team of experts to help restore your title if fraud happens at no extra cost. The bottom line, your home's your biggest investment. Don't leave it vulnerable. Home Title Lock is offering an exclusive 25% off their protection plans. Just go to HometitleLock.com, use the promo code Megyn25, and that will get you 25% off your subscription and a free title history report to make sure you're not already a victim. Protect your home and your equity today. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Megyn25. We are celebrating here at the MK Show our 1,000th episode as a podcast. It's not our 1,000th episode as a YouTube show, though. It took us a year before we added a camera to our offering and went live on YouTube. And I think we're on episode 850 or so on YouTube. And while we're on the subject of YouTube, we just got our numbers in for January. And it's just amazing. It's amazing. God bless you, YouTube followers, because you're really making this show sing over there. In the month of January, I'll give you a feel. CBS News had 65 million views on their YouTube channel. They have 6.5 million subscribers. We have 3.3 million subscribers on YouTube. All right, so they have double what we have. So they had 65 million views. NBC News on their YouTube channel has 11 million subscribers, and they had 132 million views. All right, so 132 million and 65 million. We have 3.3 million, and we had 143 million views on just for the MK Show. Just in January.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? With our 3.3 gave us 143 million. NBC's 11 million gave them 132. CNN, they had 151 million, so just a little bit above us. And they have 17.5 million. 17.5 million. And they only had a touch more than we did. That's all of CNN, every single program over there versus just the MK Show. So it's amazing the power of this kind of an audience that is like, fuck off, corporate media.
Wait, that was just in January? Hold on, that was just in January.
Just January.
Well, we'll see February because I think CNN's numbers are going to really fall off now that Jim Acosta's gone.
Oh, it's true. I don't know why they got rid of that ace in the hole.
The bottom is falling out of that one.
Some percentage
and the reason
of those
people
shows
love the show so much
Megyn
is because
Kelly,
we talk about things like the Monroe Doctrine. That's really what the people want, Matt Welch.
Bring him in.
So you've got 30 seconds to pivot off of that point onto one we understand.
Yes. James Monroe in 1823 told European powers to get off the Western Hemisphere. Don't install your puppet monarchs. In late 19th century, Donald Trump's favorite president, William McKinley, prosecuted and won the Spanish-American War. America now suddenly owned kind of Cuba and Puerto Rico and the Philippines, so that one didn't go so well. But in that process, and after he was assassinated, Teddy Roosevelt installed the corollary, which is basically the U.S. asserts the right to intervene into the internal politics and military situation of broader Latin America because it's our near abroad. We have special care of that. And I think what Trump is doing right now in trying to kick China out of the Panama Canal and trying to assert more latitude over Greenland is updating the Monroe Doctrine in a MAGA type way. That was 30 seconds.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
well
good.
done.
Thank you.
I do want to follow up on a point. Was it you, Kmele? Somebody was saying that Trump, he says the thing that nobody else will say. One of you guys said it. And
I said that.
Of course, 100%. And on brand yesterday, he took questions from the journalists in the audience, which included this woman from...
I know where this is going.
Oh, God.
From Afghanistan. Here, take a listen.
Do you have any plan to change Afghanistan situation? Are you able to recognize Taliban? Because I'm an Afghan journalist, Afghan suffrage woman. Any comment about Afghanistan? What's your future plan for Afghan people, especially Afghanistan?
I have a little hard time understanding you. Where are you from? Actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this. Good luck. Live in peace. Go ahead, please.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
That's amazing.
He says that to Melania every night anyway. It's like he's used to it.
Donald, what are we doing with the suitcase?
I love it. The only problem is very beautiful voice, but I can't understand a word you're saying. Live in peace. Good luck. Okay, here's another one.
That is a bit because I understood what she was saying perfectly. I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys understood that, right?
Nobody did. No.
It's the acoustics. It's the acoustics.
Here's another dose of honesty. This one more substantive and arguably, more important. A message about what could happen, what would happen if, God forbid, Iran actually succeeded in assassinating him. Listen to Sat 9.
That would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why. Lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said it.
I don't know.
Are posthumous presidential orders a thing? Can you?
That's
do
not
that?
a thing, but it's fine. We get this point. You can't be like, oh, you
I do
left
appreciate the point.
He's
and
making
in
him a
general,
thing.
I presume that's correct. Like, actually, whoever your successor is, if they wiped out the president and the rest of we're coming for you.
Yeah.
So yes, I
Yeah.
presume that's correct, whether you write it down or
Obliterated.
not.
Probably, and if you don't say it, it's lack of intelligence.
He also followed that up today, though, right? It's like the fake news or whatever. It's not true that I have made an agreement to, and then of course all caps, blow Iran to smithereens. No, I haven't made that deal. So just to make that clear, I want them to succeed. They just can't get a nuclear weapon. I worry when he does that, not just for my own sanity, but I worry a little bit that he is going to. People are not going to take his threats seriously. I presume in the Middle East, there's a better chance for people to take his threats seriously, although there's the kind of fly trap scenario that Moynihan was looking into. But, you also wonder if Iran is saying, okay, well, let's see what just happened with Mexico and Canada. Maybe we'll find a way to make him declare victory with a deal on a nuclear program that is actually kind of beneficial to Iran. I think that he's legitimately a hawk on Iran, which is also something that one who is like a MAGA non-interventionist or intervention skeptic should look at with some level of concern. I mean, what was the Iraq war actually kind of about at the beginning? It was to make sure that Iraq didn't get a nuclear weapon. And Donald Trump, I think the more significant thing that he did yesterday in the White House was actually not the Gaza comments. It was recommitting the U.S. to sort of maximum pressure on Iran if they get anywhere close, not just to a nuclear weapon, but with being too aggressive in their ballistic missiles program and elsewhere. So what does that mean? I think probably what that means is that he would let Netanyahu Netanyahu or Israel do what is necessary from their point of view to make that not happen. But are we committing the United States to act militarily if Iran gets close to a nuclear weapon? And what does that mean?
No.
That's difficult.
Hell no. Yeah. That would truly be a neocon, Don. And there's no way Trump would. Zero. I bet the farm Trump doesn't do that.
He signed that order yesterday.
Social.
You know.
Yeah. I hear you, but he's too smart and he knows the Republican Party too well. He knows that there is zero appetite for that. The Truth Social he just sent out is, I want Iran to be a great and successful country, but one that cannot have a nuclear weapon. Reports that the U.S. working in conjunction with Israel is going to blow Iran into smithereens, end quote, are greatly exaggerated, in all caps. I would much prefer a verified nuclear peace agreement, which will let Iran peacefully grow and prosper. We should start working on it immediately and have a big Middle East celebration when it is signed and completed. God bless the Middle East. I have to say, he makes it sound so great. You know, you're like, yes, let's just all be friends and let's have a big Middle East celebration. But, you know, given what we're dealing with over there,
we can celebrate at Epcot Center Khan Yunis when it opens in Gaza. But the thing about this stuff is, you know, you can be a little more rhetorically aggressive against Iran these days because, I mean, remember Osama bin Laden said America after the Khobar Towers and, you know, the attack in Yemen was a paper tiger. And I think that's what a lot of people are thinking about Iran these days, considering Israel, you know, flew F-16s into its airspace, knocked out its anti-air defenses, came back, and then girded itself for the response. And Iran did basically nothing. They sent like a nominal bunch of drones up. So, I mean, talking tough on Iran it's an easier thing to do now because Iran, I think in the eyes of a lot of people, is in that sort of paper tiger moment. I would be surprised. But Megyn, you mentioned something that almost got no attention. And it's one of these flood the zone things, a flurry of executive orders, is that in the United States airstrike on an ISIS leader in Somalia. That really got no attention from anyone. And it's like, this is the neocon Don and isolationist Don thing, where on the one hand, he's making sure that, you know, he's not a neocon, that adventurism is over. But, you know, a little bit of winking at, like he did, 70 Tomahawk missiles into Syria in his first term, and this hitting people and the war against ISIS. We're not staying entirely at home. And I think that some of his supporters actually don't love that and probably won't love a lot of the stuff in the past 48 hours.
One follow-up on his comment about how Joe Biden didn't issue this warning to Iran because it was perhaps a lack of intelligence. Did you hear that CAA, one of the biggest agencies in America, this is the competitor to William Morris Endeavor, just signed Joe Biden? Honestly, all I could say was, what are they going to use? Like, he's going to endorse, like, he'll be the spokesperson for V8. What job could they 15% book Joe
of the
Biden out
That's
on?
it.
They can do a lot.
Hospice care?
It's AI. It's all the de-aging technology that they used in films like The Irishman. You can use all those things, and Joe Biden could be viable for another 100 years.
Exactly.
He could be selling merchandise and products.
Ice cream? Come on.
I don't know. It could be
Ice cream, chocolate chip. That's the only thing Joe Biden was ever right about. I will say he's going to write a book.
What if they got him on Shark Tank or something? And he's like on one of those seats, just like judging.
Or
company.
the Masked Singer. What about the Masked Singer?
Well, they would know it was Joe Biden when he came out on stage and just started walking into the audience and muttering.
Like, I think he would do all. He will be the new Max Headroom. Like, he's going to make all his appearances that way.
Sneakers walking across the stage. I'm concerned about
walking
CAA.
across the stage.
Yes.
Good luck with that. Okay, let's see. There's so much more to get to. I'm trying to get my arms around where to go next. Let's talk about this USAID thing, because that one's getting really interesting. So I think most Americans had never even heard of this organization, or didn't, if they've heard of it, they didn't know what it does. And I still am not totally up to speed on what it does, but it appears to be a group that is overwhelmingly hard left in terms of its employees and the people we staff it with, and the people that then create these NGOs to which this USAID then gives its money, funneling to various causes that are very woke in many cases, like large LGBTQ and that kind of promotional stuff. The defenders say that's not all what it appears to be, that some of those so-called woke projects in these dicey third world countries are actually fronts for groups that will be democracy checks, that will quietly organize, democratic opposition to tyrants, that kind of thing. So it could be just, blatant manipulation of foreign governments under the auspices of Black Lives Matter. I don't know the truth. But what I do know is Elon is getting all sorts of bad press this week because DOGE is kicking the tires first of this organization. Like, they're going to kick a lot of tires of a lot of organizations, but they started with this one. And his conclusion was it wasn't just a matter of getting the bad worm out of the bad apple. It's the entire thing is worms. There's no apple. There's absolutely no flesh of the fruit. And the whole thing needs to go. It's been shut down now. Everybody's been told you're on temporary leave, paid leave. And only the essential workers will be allowed back into the building. And we'll tell you by Thursday at 3, I think, whether you are an essential worker at USAID. And when you look at who's really objecting to this, it's all people we don't like Ilhan Omar's really upset about it. So I'm already in favor of it. And then I read today that Politico somehow managed to get $8.1 million of USAID dollars. How'd that happen? We heard the Megyn Kelly Show haven't taken one red cent from the federal government. None's been offered and none's been taken. But what is that about? And how, if that's true, how are they reporting objectively on any of this? Every news piece you hear about who gets money from this group is disturbing. We had the press secretary out there the other day giving a list that was deeply disturbing. And then what we had today or yesterday was Democrats outside of the Treasury Department protesting Elon because they're very ticked off about this and about him. And I just think they see an opportunity because Trump's so popular right now to kick the right-hand man as opposed to the main man. But take a listen to what happened outside of state in SOT 22.
We have got to tell Elon Musk, nobody elected your ass. Oh, you want to use our money to go to Mars? No. We want to use our money right here in Washington, D.C.
We will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi Nepo baby. We will not take this. We will fight back. Fight back. Fight back. And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and goddamn it, shut down the Senate. We are at war.
Stand with you in this fight, and we will win. We will win. We will win. We will win. We will.
No one's joining him.
Oh my God. No, we won't rest. We won't rest.
We won't
rest. Try this new one.
We won't rest. Thank you, everybody.
No one's even mouthing it.
Dude, 90 days ago you lost. What are you talking about? And I do love that the woman who's we're at war. We got to shut down the city. It's like you represent Newark. Yeah. You represent Newark and Orange, New Jersey, which have been shut down in that war for about 20 years now. Yeah. So maybe a little closer to home. Good Lord.
Let me clarify my political reporting. Steve Crack, our EP, tells me that those $8.1 million are apparently employees or agencies buying some very expensive subscription to Politico.
Oh,
it's not that Politico got grants or other federal funding. Okay, so I don't totally understand the clarification.
And
but
some of that,
they received
some 6.4 million of that happened during the Trump administration, or that's what the level was in Trump 1.0. It's still why is this happening?
Exactly.
The government should pay for this. I think one of the things that Elon Musk is doing right now as installing DOGE into the U.S. Digital Services organization, which was started under Obama, created under Obama to help fix the problems with the Obamacare website, but then became this sort of government efficiency thing. By doing that, he is sort of seeing how the machinery of payments and tech happens with the government. This is sort of the difference between him and Vivek Ramaswamy about what to do with DOGE. Vivek, I think, was more concerned with executive orders and looking for these kind of efficiencies. And Musk is like, let me get inside the tech. And we're seeing the fruits. And I was initially on the side of Vivek Ramaswamy's approach towards this. We're seeing the fruits of the Musk approach this week. And part of this, from my point of view, is not good, just in the sense of you don't want to suddenly have the U.S. not have its websites that you can look up information about it from database sets and stuff. And also you shouldn't suspend payment of services that have already been given. However, part of it has been really good in terms of people going, what? We pay for what now? Which organization? We've had a lot of listeners in places like Poland and Hungary come back with reports of like, oh, that's interesting that this magazine or this civil society opposition group suddenly is saying that we can't pay our employees because the checks didn't come through from USAID. It's like, what are we actually funding out there? I would point out USAID, it's $44 billion a year. The estimated cost to rebuild Gaza is north of $80 billion a year. So it's not necessarily about, we're going to reduce the size and scope of government just if we do this. However, it does show a thing that has existed and has been kind of put on steroids since the time of George W. Bush and the faith-based initiative programs. Government loves to give money to private charities, nonprofit groups, civil society groups, and it does that a lot in big cities like New York. It also does this in overseas in ways that most people are not aware of, and I think a lot of it is pretty skeevy. It ends up sort of rewarding your political allies, allowing people to like have a job when their administration or with their political team is kind of out of power. And a lot of it's gross. And so what Elon Musk is doing is sort of giving a margin call, wake-up call about the mechanics of that. And I think that it is pretty useful. You can't, I don't think, shut down USAID without having an act of Congress. It is statutorily authorized by Congress twice.
But I think they have a very good argument that they can all but defund it. There is an argument that they cannot, but having looked at both arguments, I'm convinced they can all but defund it. And I also think, I don't care that they've made commitments to do these wacky things. They should stop. We're going to break our commitments because they were bad commitments that were being done in silent to left-wing groups that were not actually supported. Just listen here. Here's a double shot reaction from the White House press secretary listing some of the things we're paying for, and then Trump's description.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
The first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it.
That's the program.
Sure, I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics, and the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
How about those initiatives?
I got to say, I mean, and Trump's right about this. I mean, the concept in so many ways is good. I mean, you don't want like, we're doing DEI dancing and Cork or something. I mean, the fact that there's I don't know what a DEI musical in Ireland is like. It's a bunch of drunk people talking about how much they hate Protestants. But the great thing about
Italians.
I was in Poland last week, and I was interviewing somebody. And before the interview, this very nice woman who was a judge, and she said to me, like, what do you think of Trump? And she said that the program that she was a part of was just like defunded, and they're all panicking about this. I was in Poland, and I happened to meet somebody who had a USAID related thing defunded that very day, which the odds of that should be very small. I mean, there are what Trump said is right in the sense that, there is on paper A lot of good. I mean, there are some actually really good things that USAID does. I mean, particularly in Africa, where you also have to compete with the Belt and Road Initiative of the Chinese, who are making their influence felt all over the world. So that kind of influence is great. But here is the reason that we are capitalists. Here is the reason that we are free market people. The problem with this stuff is there is no oversight in government. If somebody was spending this sort of money in a private company and you were losing money and you were like looking at your margins, you would fire the whole department. You're like, what the hell are we doing this for? There's no one in government to do that. So the instinct is right. Baby with the bathwater thing concerns me in a way, because there are good initiatives here. And it's like, it's all about going, we'll figure those out. But line by line, getting rid of some of this crazy stuff is a positive, because it's just grown and grown and grown, and people come to expect it as like their birthright. We can, it's USAID. We'll just apply. And I mean, as Matt said, they're not giving money to Politico, but why the hell is the government spending $8 million of taxpayer money on subscriptions? Are you kidding me?
I don't. It's a good question. And honestly, like, I look at this and I think it's so bad. It's so egregious. Like, there should be an investigation on into the people who allowed these expenses to begin with. And we absolutely need to pump the brakes right now that we've discovered it. That's 100% the right thing to do. And to shut the people out of the building who were responsible for it and who weren't waving flags about it. And what they've said is that they'd really like to fold it into the State Department. Now, that may take an act of Congress, because it is an independent agency created by Congress. But right now, Marco Rubio says he's been appointed the acting director, so that's good. And they're going to figure out exactly what the expenditures are and which are worthy and which are not. Libs of TikTok had a great tweet too, outlining some more of them. $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes, $2 million promoting tourism to Lebanon, $20 million for a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Now, I love Sesame Street, but what? Sending Ukrainians to Paris Fashion Week? What? Goes on from there. Some of the ones. $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. Okay, I don't want to pay for those here in America, and I really don't want to pay for them in Guatemala. So good for Elon. But to me, there's more going on here. I think we'll get USAID straightened out. But there is an onslaught of attacks against Elon Musk right now, and it seems like the Democrats smell blood in the water. They're like, this is our chance for our first win. We're going to take out the unelected guy who's running around. They're saying that he's trying to access classified files or files he's not allowed to see at places like USAID. Trump came out yesterday and said he hasn't seen and he's not allowed to see anything that we don't permit him to see. So calm down. And then do we have the Harry Enten clip? Because he was on CNN showing the disapproval of Elon. We'll have it in a second. But here's AOC first going off about him.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed. The danger in
why is she laughing?
The lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of. But the point is that what that means is that they're going to hit a button inevitably. They are going to hit a button and things can go sideways.
Okay,
if you're going to
make
like
Obamacare, is literally rescuing astronauts stuck on the International Space Station with his rockets right now. He's unintelligent, she says. He's literally working to solve paralysis with his Neuralink chip that goes in your brain and makes you control a computer with your eyes. It's actually happening right now with actual human beings. What is she? She's trying to sell us that he's dumb. She is trying to sell us that Elon is dumb.
It sounds smart when you're saying that the guy who can drop a rocket on a dime in the middle of Texas is dumb. She sounds like a total moron when she's saying that. That is remarkable. Yeah.
I mean, Elon is clearly the most, I think it's just like fairly true, like the most consequential entrepreneur of our lifetimes, perhaps. I mean, between Tesla and SpaceX alone, like that's a pretty big deal. The potential for something like Neuralink is even more profound, and quite frankly has just become this kind of cultural icon as well. At the same time, like while he's raised his profile on the political scene, there are moments where Elon is tweeting that I wish he would just kind of pull back on the stick a little bit. There are moments where he's engaged in this kind of like public hyperbole. I'm just like, dude, could you chill? Because when I look at what DOGE aspires to do, at least on paper, to the extent there is any kind of specific details about it, like it's hard for me to get mad about that. Like being concerned, like radically obsessed even with cutting the size of government, with reducing waste it's just a noble and sensible goal. And when I see what they're actually doing so far, to the extent anyone knows what's going on, there's a bunch of young kids with laptops or younger people with laptops. Sometimes they get in trouble for using the word kid, are showing up in meetings and they're asking questions and they're trying to look at code bases. We don't actually know what the hell is going on. There is nothing that suggests to me that the level of panic that has seized the Democratic Party and people who hate Donald Trump in general, and apparently Elon as well, there's nothing that seems to justify that at the moment. But I don't think that the way that they're going about things and the kind of attempts at provocation around these issues is necessarily like great for Elon. Maybe the Democrats kind of overstep and are way out over their skis. At the moment, he's being accused of committing all kinds of crimes, and there's panic because these kids like know how to code and are maybe coding things. People should probably be more panicked about the fact that the payment systems are written in these old, antiquated programming languages. Nobody actually knows how any of this stuff works. It isn't well documented. The government has the capacity to screw things up all on its own with its longtime experts and longtime consultants. That is what they did with Obamacare. I'm not particularly frightened by programmers showing up and taking a look at code and trying to assess
the programs
how
are
things work
and
and if they could be better.
Why are we auditing Matt Taibbi with our IRS? And no one's auditing USAID to figure out why we're spending millions on Irish, what is it, dances? I don't, like DEI dances.
Dancing. It's lovely. You should come check it out, Kelly. You'll love it.
Why, if we're going to take a hard look at the Matt Taibbi's of the world, which was started under Joe Biden, why can't we spend a sharp accountant for USAID? And the answers in both cases are because these are political decisions, 100% political decisions. By the way, Trump should drop that Matt Taibbi IRS thing, and he should pull the feds off of James O'Keefe too. I find it very disturbing. I mean, this seems to be some government slush fund that has gotten away with too much for too long. So Elon's starting here, and this is because he's received nonstop negative coverage. You watch the news. That's what you hear, the AOC soundbite. You hear him being talked about like he's some sort of an idiot who wants to sneak in on all of our private files. Meanwhile, it's like, what do I care? Do I really care whether Elon sees like I don't know, my social security number? I think he's good. I don't think we're in danger of identity theft. He's set. He's not going to be doing the home title theft against the four of us. But okay, fine. I don't want anybody snooping around, so it's fine. And he's not. But here you get the CNN, like they aired this on the Harry Enten thing just to make sure we all know people don't like him.
A key role for Musk and Trump's administration. You see this 39% support, 53%, the clear majority opposed. They don't want this. The American people don't want this. The American folks, simply put, do not want Elon Musk having a key role in the Trump administration. Elon Musk's net favorable rating, back in 2016 when he was known as the SpaceX guy, right? His net favorable rating was plus 29 points. By last year, pre-fall, he had dropped all the way down to -3 as he began to take on more of a political role. Now look in 2025. Whoa, the bottom has fallen out, minus 11 points. And it should be noted that Donald Trump's own net favorable rating is closer to about a net 0. So Elon Musk at this particular point is far more unpopular than Donald Trump is, who is at the apex of his popularity. In fact, what we see with Elon Musk is he is at the trough of his popularity.
Harry's been doing some workouts.
Harry. Yeah. I want to defend Harry, by the way, who is great. And if you go back to clips, he's a very straight shooter. I'll just be honest. Harry is a fantastic guy. And if you go back during the last election, you could put together an amazing supercut of Harry giving hosts on CNN news that they didn't want to hear. And he was like, all these numbers, and they were like, is that real? And he's like, yes, it's real. But again, that actually doesn't surprise me in the sense that, as you point out, Megyn, there has been, and I have a huge number of issues with Elon Musk, and I think there's things you have to guard against of a guy that has, companies that have government contracts being entangled with the government. You have to keep a close watch on these things. I don't like his interactions with the AfD in Germany, et cetera. But the negative coverage has been wildly disproportionate. And you see that on TikTok, you see it on Twitter, on Instagram, everywhere I go, I see this stuff. So it doesn't surprise me in any way that those numbers have collapsed because, it was mostly positive coverage before. And this is just not the case now.
Well, look, they just spent 2 weeks telling us he did a Nazi salute. Right. And he's like, that's pro-Hitler.
That one might hurt too.
Every word that's uttered about him is negative in the news. And so it's actually kind of impressive that he's only -11. The guy who runs around firing everybody doesn't tend to be popular. Remember that movie Up in the Air? Is that what it was called? Is it Up in the Air?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. With George Clooney, where he's firing everybody.
Oh, yeah. I think
good
that's
movie.
right.
Am I confusing that one for the balloon one with the cute old man, the cartoon?
I think that's just Up. That one is Up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Up in the Air was written by MAGA. Wasn't Up in the Air was written by MAGA stalwart Walter
Kern.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes,
oh my
it was
gosh.
a MAGA guy. Yes.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm a fan of his. Well, by the way, this just in, Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets. This is just happened, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico will no longer be happening. The DOGE team is working on canceling those payments. Right on, Caroline. This is this is wonderful. Why? Who would be, other than Politico, opposed to this kind of testing of what use is being made of our federal dollars? All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to talk about the executive order coming out from Team Trump today, and it is the thing that delivered the election to him. More with the fifth column coming up. You've seen the headlines. Cyber attacks on our power grid, water systems hacked, drones in the sky. Hello. It's a stark reminder, no matter who is in power, the government will not always be able to save you. This is why I want to tell you about My Patriot Supply. They are the leader in emergency preparedness, and their 4-week emergency food kit gives you the nutrition you need to stay strong in a crisis. With 2,000 calories per day and 1,000% of your daily value of 12 essential vitamins and minerals, this kit keeps you going when every meal matters. Right now, you can get $50 off their 4-week food kit. It's actually very nicely sized. It will fit very nicely into a storage closet. It's not some huge thing that's going to overwhelm you. And with warehouses across the U.S., they're going to ship your kit fast, usually just within 1 day. Don't wait for the next headline to remind you of how fragile our systems are. Go to preparewithmegan.com now and grab your 4-week emergency food kit. We have ours. We have 2 of them. That's preparewithmegan.com. Be prepared before it's too late. These days, personal safety is not something that can be left to chance. Whether at home, on the road, or just living everyday life, having a reliable way to protect yourself and your family is crucial. This is why Byrna is the choice for so many. Byrna is a game-changing, less lethal self-defense tool. Compact, powerful, and easy to use, it provides the confidence to act in any situation. Byrna uses non-lethal rounds, tear gas, pepper, and kinetic projectiles to effectively stop a threat from a safe distance. And the best part is Byrna can be shipped direct to your door, and it's legal in all 50 states. The good thing about Byrna, if you're somebody who doesn't practice with firearms all the time, is you don't even have to have the best aim. If you can hit like the wall right behind the intruder or the bad guy, you could potentially incapacitate him with this, what's essentially like a chemical weapon in this projectile. So you don't actually have to hit the guy. As long as you get it really close to him, it could take him out for the next hour, which is the time you need to protect yourself. Byrna is proudly American with products hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Sometimes a firearm is not the right option for you, and Byrna provides a powerful alternative. Protect what matters most with Byrna. Visit Byrna.com. That's BYRNA.com/Megyn, and that will get you a 10% discount. And learn for yourself why thousands of people and law enforcement agencies are making the switch to Byrna's less lethal protection. Byrna, non-lethal self-defense, always ready.
Riley Gaines and Sia Leahy are in hot water over their transphobic comments, and I just gotta say, who cares if biological males play in women's sports? Just be inclusive.
Could not agree more. This is just a bunch of fear-mongering from right-wing bigots.
She's a bigot. She's been a massive distraction from her team with her hate-filled rhetoric. Sia is not inclusive. And males invading women's sports isn't even a problem, as far as I'm concerned.
These female athletes just need to work harder.
And not blame others for their lack of success.
Transphobe.
As the captain, Sia is very much responsible for these boycotts, which have cost her team a playoff bid.
Guess we'll see how Sia handles all that pressure tonight.
Great ad by our friend Jennifer Say and her XXXY athletic wear brand. Love the clothing line and love what they stand for. They have the guts and the balls. The people over at Nike do not. And that message is right on. It's very timely, and they're thrilled, I am sure, today, because the Trump EO that is expected to happen at 3 p.m. today is entitled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. It will ban transgender girls, meaning biological boys and women, from participating in female sports events in schools and colleges. It will keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports in schools and colleges. The Wall Street Journal reporting, we haven't seen it yet, that it's not immediately clear exactly what the contents of the order will entail, but one option is for President Trump to direct the Education Department to interpret federal Title IX rules as barring the participation of boys pretending to be girls in female sports categories. That's my phraseology. Of course, the Wall Street Journal was more PC. In the face of such an order, likely affecting all but a handful of the National Collegiate Athletic Association's 1,100 member schools, the NCAA has indicated that it will move rapidly to change its rules, depending on what Trump issues today. The president of the NCAA saying, we're a national governing body and we follow federal law. Clarity on this issue at the federal level would be very helpful. So this is it, guys. I mean, Trump already issued an EO saying you cannot change genders. That's not a thing. Men are men, women are women, and that's the federal government's policy. Get pronouns out of emails. Get any teaching that you can transition your sex out of all federal agencies. And we're not paying for any procedures through, our Medicare. And so on. Like, he's trying to use the tools he can to remove the public and the taxpayers from participating in this ideology. And this is a huge, huge issue on which he has overwhelming support from a majority of both parties, very high numbers against men posing as women participating in girls' sports. What do you make of it?
It's an 80-20 issue. I once interviewed Rand Paul, and it's like, in politics is a search for 80-20 issues to be on the right side of. And he was using it at that time, talking about both foreign aid, U.S. foreign aid, and also in his opposition to the Syrian war back when Barack Obama and John Kerry were drawing red lines and they wanted to intervene into Syria, but the American public did not have an appetite for that back in 2013. I predict that we're not going to hear much about this beginning in about 24 hours because precisely it is an 80-20 issue. And also, he does have broad authority under Title IX. Title IX, this is the fourth successive presidency that has changed Title IX, the interpretation of Title IX, beginning with Barack Obama, disastrously, in my view, changing the due process requirements to adjudicate campus sexual assault cases back in 2013, I think it was, or 14, which Trump, to his credit, changed back, and then Biden changed back, and then Trump changed back. But Title IX is about, like, a big portion of it is about women's sports in college. So it kind of makes sense to interpret it to have to do with women. So because it's an 80-20 issue, because it's sort of been like a paper tiger, it's been based on the pushing through these things has been based on people's silence in not taking the J.K. Rowling approach, because it wasn't worth the hassle to raise your voice about it. Megyn, I don't know if you know that. Sometimes you get blowback if you bring this up in certain areas in the media. So I think it's going to take place. It's not going to be challenged at all. I don't think legally. There's not going to be a leg to stand on it. And people are going to take the L, just like they're removing pronouns very quietly from their Twitter bios.
Totally
it's
disagree.
Beautiful. Pete Buttigieg.
Okay. Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg removed his pronouns from his Twitter bio. Bend the knee, sir. Bend it. Hashtag you were been part of the problem. I just want to tell you this. In that ad we played from Jennifer Say, Riley Gaines was featured along with Riley's younger sister, who I think is also a competitive athlete. And they talked about Sia. Oh, Sia's a bigot. Sia this, Sia that. It's Sia Lilly, who's featured, a University of Nevada volleyball captain who spoke out against having to compete against a trans athlete on the San Jose State team. That's a team whose captain has come on this show to speak out about being forced to play next to a man pretending to be a woman, being forced to share a locker room and a room on the road with a man pretending to be a woman, without the school even disclosing to her that the person they were rooming her with was actually a man. And it's, like these people featured in there have put real skin in the game and gotten hurt. I mean, I think Riley Gaines, she's actually been attacked. We know that. We saw that happen to her when she was trying to speak out about this on college campuses after the fact. She was forced to disrobe and get naked in front of Leah Thomas, walking around fully intact male, while these poor girls who were just trying to swim in the championship at the NCAA were trying to hide their naked bodies from this guy. It's sick. So good luck to those who do want to protest this. But here is how the Washington Post has reacted. This order is set to ricochet through school districts and college campuses across the country. So they are acknowledging that this will have the full effect of law. And then they quote the Human Rights Campaign, a far-left organization that used to just stand for gay rights and equality that most people could get behind, and it's gone full trans now. Totally abandoned the gay mission. They're totally all about the T and not the LGB. While this order will target transgender youth specifically, blanket bans have negative impacts on all girls. See, all girls are going to suffer now as a result of us keeping boys out of their sports.
I just want to say, when I said I fully disagree with Matt on this, I mean, the broader sense I agree, but I don't think it's going to go away. And the reason I don't think it's going to go away and disappear in the media is because it's an 80-20 issue in the media in the other direction. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that everyone's shocked that these are issues that the voters are like, no, we're not on the same page. But if you go back and look at the development of this issue, how it came, I always point out the word BIPOC. There was a moment when someone created this acronym for, I can't remember, Black, Indigenous people of color.
Person of color.
And it came out of nowhere, and everyone started using it because they were afraid. They were like, I guess this is what we do now. And this was the same thing that happened with J.K. Rowling when it was like, we're going to have a Harry Potter reunion on HBO and not even going to invite the woman who created the franchise. Because do you think that the people within HBO, sure, some of the younger employees I'm sure did, but I know for a fact a lot of those people up top were just doing things because they were fearful of being accused and being attacked in the way you have and other people have. So I think that it's going to keep going because those people who make those attacks are all, inhabit the media. And the other thing that I was surprised about in this executive order is it doesn't go the other way, is that I want a ban also of biological women competing in men's sports, because there's no difference in gender. It's a social construct. So presumably it goes both ways. And we want to make sure that there are biological women not beating men in sports that they're better at them at. Because, it's all the same. There's no such thing.
Literally never happened. But sure, I'm fine with that too.
Hasn't?
I don't think so. We cover this subject a lot. But I will say, quick clarification, that Human Rights Campaign quote is just from HRC. It wasn't in the Washington Post. But in related news, you guys, Trump signed the EO, was it yesterday, saying any hospital that takes federal funds is not doing gender transition procedures on minors. Not puberty blockers, not cross-sex hormones, not surgeries. If you take federal funds, if you take Medicare, you take Medicaid, F off. You cannot do these procedures on minors. And that is how the federal government can put pressure on hospitals and other medical facilities to stop with the constant chopping off of little boys' penises as part of some weird vanity project by, in some cases, their parents, in some cases, a bizarre and deranged medical establishment or psychologist who gets involved. And we showed yesterday the weird Cynthia Nixon protest out of NYU Langone in New York because they denied puberty blockers to two 12-year-olds who'd been scheduled to get the injection in their arm. And now today we get follow-up reporting. Listen to this. Via The Cut. They go through the appropriately titled, in this case, offshoot of New York Magazine, The Cut, talks about reaction from trans parents. Father of a 15-year-old stockpiled a year's worth of meds for his child after the election. There's nothing more important in her life, and he has a boy, than having this care. We've known she was trans since she was 2.5. The mood in our home has been brutal since the election. We're an all-queer family. I'm a trans person myself, he adds. I'm very angry with a lot of despair. This is abuse. This sick person is abusing his 2.5-year-old, and President Trump just shut it down. And he won't get praised by anyone in the mainstream for it, but he may have saved that child's life, you guys.
I mean, I think it's important to just, and we don't have the executive order yet, but what I'll say briefly is, as Matt pointed out, like we've seen this go back and forth a bunch, and the attempts to try and kind of dictate exactly what the culture will be or how it will work through executive orders is probably a fraught project. Like the best you can hope for in a circumstance like that is a kind of reprieve from whatever kind of social craziness is happening at the moment. So I think folks have to really acknowledge that there are limits on what Donald Trump can do here. And I don't know that the actual precedent that currently exists, where you get into office and you just pass a bunch of executive orders reversing the thing that happened right before you were in office, that can't be the status quo that we actually want here. And moving back to a universe
it's not
where
ideal.
pluralism
we had on Senator Tuberville just this week. He tried, he's introduced, even with a Republican-controlled Senate, to get the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. And John Thune won't bring it to the floor for a vote. And we don't know why. They said they only want to bring the ones that we can actually have pass. They don't have 60 votes to get cloture. Well, get them on the record. Embarrass them. Start building the case. You're right. We cannot live or die by executive order, but at least it's a start. Got to run.
In one final thing, keep
bomb.
in mind that Tish James told these hospitals, that's the Attorney General of New York, to ignore the Trump executive order. That she said that yesterday, and I think repeated it again today. So
she does that at her own peril, because there's a Supreme Court case being decided right now that takes up that very argument. You know, is this some sort of a sex discrimination or an equal protection problem? Because that's what she's arguing. She's saying if you do it, you'll violate our laws that make this kind of thing discriminatory if you won't give these kids this treatment. And then you've got the feds saying you can't do it. So the Supreme Court's already got that in front of them. She's going to lose. We saw the arguments. She's going to lose that. Bit by bit, we're making progress on this issue, and God bless President Trump for spearheading it. You guys are the greatest. Thanks for being here. Tomorrow, Andrew Klavan. Don't miss that.